So hello, welcome back to whatever this is. Today I thought we would do another Adulting 101 and talk about your first apartment. And for those of you that have lived in many a home, I'm sorry, this will not apply to you, but you can let me know if it's weird that this necklace points directly in between my boobs and any advice you might have, yay! So, first thing, what do you even look for? So other than your very obvious things, like there's definitely also a couple additional things that you just don't really know until you know. One of those would be just honestly look out for anything gross, which may seem pretty obvious, like if you walked in and there was a murder zone, yeah, might not be the place for you. But when you're going to look at a place, like there's so many things that you're taking in and trying to figure out, especially like sometimes when you're touring apartments, they already have somebody living in them, so you feel a little weird about like going through somebody's stuff and you can't really see the entire space, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I would just make it a point to look around in areas like weird corners or windowsills, like just look for any like water damage or weird stains, like smell. Similarly, I would also listen in every room. It might feel like you're in here for like 1,000 years and the landlord and the realtor is trying to hurry you up, but they can sit down. You're potentially paying them lots of money. Chill your bones. The reason why I'm saying is listen in every single room is it is gonna be different in every single room. Like in my current apartment, I am very fortunate I cannot hear my neighbors at all, except for when I'm in my closet. And personally, I am for just being out, so I'm not in there a whole ton, but it is a walk-in closet and I keep my dresser in there, so I am in there sometimes, and it's borderline close to being in the same room as my neighbors. And it's not a problem for me because again, I'm really not in there very often. But you know, sometimes I am in there cleaning and I'm listening to music or watching TV or talking on the phone, and for them, it's not their closet that they're in. They're just in their room and they can hear, I'm sure, everything that I'm doing and saying. I'm just saying it is important to just sit and like listen in silence and make sure something isn't gonna piss you off, especially if you are close to the street or on a lower level, or even if you're on a higher up level. Like think about the building that is below you. My friend had an apartment that was like the perfect apartment in the best location and all this stuff, except he moved in there and it was on top of a bar and he could never sleep. And you might think like, oh, there's a cafe downstairs, but that doesn't really get rowdy, especially at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm currently viewing this apartment. But as someone who has worked in those cafes, I personally like to blast music when I get to work, which is at like 6:30 in the morning and is a frequent thing, just saying. The next thing I have to take into consideration is the security of everything. And depending on the area that you're in, you know, like things like a gate might not be necessary to you, or like a front desk person, but at the same time, it might be something that you want to consider. And just another thing to think about. One thing I definitely would consider, because I looked for a lot, is I wanted a place on a lower level just because I have a dog and I don't want to walk up 1,000 steps. If you are on a lower level, it might seem more convenient, but if it's in a place where people could just be standing outside on the street talking really late at night, that can be so obnoxious, or also just like a safety hazard of someone could basically just crawl in through your window if you're ever gonna open that. And if you don't have air conditioning because this is your first apartment and you're poor, what are you gonna do in the summer? Next, if amenities are a thing, I would definitely actually go and look at those before just taking somebody's word. I know you might be on your first apartment, you're getting all excited, everybody's telling you all these things, but trust no bitch, because it says that it has a pool and it has a gym and all these things. Go and look at those, because a lot of the time what a pool and a gym means is there is a cesspool and 2 treadmills, one of which is always broken. And finally, another thing I don't think people really take into consideration is how big of a pain is it going to be moving in and out of the building. We already talked a little bit about what floor you're going to be on, but if there's no elevator in your building and you're living on a 4th floor, it's important to think about how much crap you're going to have to carry up those steps to get in, and also how much crap you're going to carry to get out one day. And that's not to say that you shouldn't live in a high-rise building or you shouldn't live at the top. It's just something that like I would check if there is an elevator and if you can reserve it on the day that you're moving just to make things a little bit easier, or if there isn't one, like you might just have to budget for movers because it's gonna be a pain. Having friends that will help you move is one thing. Having friends that will help you move up 7 flights of stairs is a whole other thing. So again, not to say that you shouldn't live in a building like that, I'm just saying you might have to budget differently. But the next thing, what to ask. So again, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid, like even if it makes you feel weird, like it's gonna feel weird for about 5 seconds and then at the end you're gonna be like, wow, I am a strong, independent, powerful woman. Suck my dick. So feel free to ask whatever questions, even if they seem stupid. In my current apartment, the mail system is so stupid, and I didn't even think to ask that. My sister, again, this is why I keep her, fortunately was like, so how do you get your mail? Because it's a dumb system, and that's fine. That's why I can afford this place. And you know, that's the thing, is like finding out all the negatives before you're gonna move in there. Like you're not gonna find a place that's going to be absolutely perfect. Ask questions before you get in there. Find out all the negatives. to make sure that it's something that you think you could actually live with. Another specific thing I would definitely find out is what is included in your rent, because some places are going to just be like, you can live here, and others are going to include some utilities, and then others like Maine will include everything. But if they include everything, ask what everything is, or if they include some things, ask what those are. Because especially in places where everything is included, they won't let you control like your own heat, which is something you're going to want to consider, because some places, by not controlling your heat, it's freezing, and in other places you are literally having to open your windows in January because it is so hot in there. I would also ask if you're allowed to paint, because a fresh coat of paint really does do wonders. I have been meaning to for a while. Like, can you put nails in? Are you allowed to decorate, like put screws in the wall? If you're looking at an apartment and you're like, this is just so poorly laid out and this makes no sense, this place, but your landlord doesn't really care what you do with it, a couple really minor changes can do a lot for your space. And lastly, I would also make sure that you know exactly, like just have it written out if it's not on your lease already, when your rent payments are due, and also how they're taken and what the late fees are. It's just a lot better to know ahead of time. Like in my current situation, I forgot to ask this. I don't know how, I don't know why, but my lease is only a month long, so basically I just keep sending the man checks every month and he doesn't say anything, and it's like the middle of the month when they come, because it was the middle of the month when I moved and he hasn't said anything, so I haven't asked. But like, it would be nice to know. Most places will just be like, it has to be before the first of the month or like the end of the month. Like every place is run differently, and you just don't want to end up getting screwed over something that you just didn't know. Make yourself a checklist before you move. And on this checklist, just a couple things that you need to do. One being, go through all your crap and just like get rid of stuff that you don't need. Make 3 piles, just like take an afternoon to look at everything, and I mean like everything, not just your clothes, but like the whole enchilada, and figure out things that you can sell, you can donate, and then you actually want to keep. This is just like a really ideal time to just like downsize on stuff, because you really like, you don't need that much crap. Look at this blank wall. I really want some art. This will not only help you lighten the load that you have to move, but also just get you a better idea of things that you have and you don't have. Like you may have at one point received a spatula that you forgot entirely about and stuck in a drawer, but if you know that ahead of time, you won't end up buying another spatula, because who the heck needs 2 spatulas? And since you now have an idea of how much stuff you have, it'll also give you an idea of how much stuff you need to get. And it'll give you an idea of whether or not you need movers. Personally, movers, that is like a luxury I don't know if I will ever have. But at the same time, it's a luxury I want. So don't feel like you have to get movers, especially I feel like if it's your first apartment. Like how much crap could you really have? But when hiring movers, I would try and get them scheduled as early on as you possibly could, because the price will fluctuate depending on like the season and the day and just like a bunch of things like that. So the sooner you can figure that out, the better. And when you schedule them, ask for a guaranteed price quote, and don't let people tell you things. Get that in writing. Actually, throughout this whole experience and your life, just remember that if it is not written down, it does not matter. That's a good tip. You should write that down. Movers aren't in your future and you don't have a friend that has a truck, but you have things that won't fit in your car, I would also try and get a U-Haul rented as soon as possible. And when you rent these, make sure you are giving yourself enough time to pick the actual truck up, drive it to your first destination, load all that crap, drive it to your second destination, unload all that crap, and then drive it back to the original store you picked it up from. And then I would just add on a whole nother hour just in case, because things will definitely go a lot slower than you think that they're going to. If you're pretty much only moving like a bed and maybe a desk or something, just measure them out, and most things at this point will likely just fit in one of those vans. And the vans aren't very expensive and they're not nearly as painful to drive, and also you don't have to use it to move everything. When I rented one, I just stuck all the things that definitely wouldn't fit in my car in first, and then from there was like, okay, just whatever else we can throw in here, like let's do. But everything else that I can fit in my car, you can kind of take like over time too, so you're not fully putting everything in at once if that's like a possibility for you. Another thing just like to potentially consider is you can use it to like pick other stuff up too. I actually rented one for my last move and I used it to pick up my couch, because if you're buying a larger item online or even just in store, they're gonna charge you like 150 bucks easy for your shipping and handling. So my logic was, yes, it kind of sucked because you have to make an additional trip and do the physical labor of carrying a couch up a very big flight of stairs. Thanks, Dante. When I rented my U-Haul, everything like all the driving, all the gas, the time, blah, blah, blah. Everything cost under like 70 bucks, whereas if I had got that couch shipped, it would have been $150 on top of the U-Haul. So I'm just saying it's not a bad thing to just like keep in the back of your head. But next thing I would do before you move is make sure that you're signed up for renter's insurance. I know, you're sitting here like, Lauren, dear God, you want me to bleed more money? But people, renter's insurance is like $5 a month. I'm just saying, hopefully an accident does not happen, but sometimes they do, especially in larger apartment buildings where like there's hundreds of other people in them. You have no control of what those people and their children are doing. So it's just something that's definitely good to have, especially because it is so cheap, and especially if you are already paying car insurance, ask the agency that you're getting your car insurance from if they have any bundles on renter's insurance, because I asked my agency and literally I now end up paying $15 less than I was before on my car insurance because of the bundle. So yes, I'm paying like $6 or whatever it is a month, but I'm getting like a $20 discount on my car insurance, if that makes sense. Next thing is I would start packing things up well in advance before your actual moving date. Just things that you don't use. Like if you're gonna be moving books, really weird like beauty products you hardly ever use, like extra towels, just like anything you might have laying around your house. Just start packing that up slowly in advance so you're not having to shove everything into boxes the day of. Same thing goes with start stockpiling boxes. I fortunately have worked in plenty of places where they're getting a lot of shipments in and getting a lot of boxes, so if you work in one of those too, just like nicely ask your boss like, hey, we normally just recycle these anyways, could I just take a couple home? Most people aren't gonna care. Next thing I would do in advance is get your internet figured out. This will take just a couple minutes of research to figure out what provider gives you the best internet in your service and also what you can actually afford and like what package you want and blah 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 blah. But I'm just saying right now, if Comcast tries to play you and tries to get you to pay the $150 it is to have somebody come out, just tell them no. Comcast flat out told me there was no internet in this building for the last 7 years. And I was like, you're either so misinformed or blatantly lying to me, but regardless, I'm not paying for it. So instead, I just went to Best Buy, and you need to buy not only a modem, but you also need a router. You need them both so that you're not only getting access to internet, but also it is like dispersing to the rest of your devices. Science. But yeah, really setting it up, especially with Comcast, is not that difficult to do yourself, and personally, I feel like I would rather try and figure it out, and if it doesn't work, then pay someone to come out instead of just paying someone to come out for something that you could do in under 10 minutes, which is what happened to me. And last thing is make yourself like a little moving day kit. And I would recommend giving at least a little bit of time in between, even if it is just that one day, so that you can come in before you have all your crap in here and just deep clean everything and get stuff set up. Another thing I would do is as soon as you get there and as soon as you get the keys, just take pictures of everything, because then if you do have a little sneak, again, trust nobody, if you do have a little sneak of a landlord that's like, well, I see that this is broken, I'm gonna take that out of your deposit before you move, you can be like, no, that has been broken the entire time, don't even, sir. But in your kit, I would pretty much just get all the cleaning supplies of every flavor. You're gonna need these anyway in your life, in your home. So really things like spray bottles, a broom, a mop, paper towels, gloves, some extra batteries, a toilet plunger, a vacuum, dusting supplies, whatever else you would need to clean, and also like a basic couple tools. You don't need to go out and buy one of those entirely new toolkits, but I would definitely recommend having at least a hammer and a drill and some nails and screws. You will be so impressed at how many times you're gonna go to grab something just to realize you don't have that anymore. Mom, and it is such a pain trying to get everything done and to move and do all this crap, but you keep having to make trips to the store. So the more prepared you can kind of like make this kit, the better. I also would include just some toilet paper, some snacks, and some water just in case you're gonna be here all day, but definitely the toilet paper, because otherwise you're doomed. And yeah, those are my tips for your first apartment. Ooh, it's so exciting. So let me know if you would like to see like a kind of do's and don'ts of things you should buy before your first apartment, because that was gonna be in this video, but then it got too long, so let me know. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed, and good luck with all of your new apartments or your old houses or your boxes. But thank you so much for watching. Go start saving some cardboard and low-key stealing toilet paper from your mom, and have a nice day. Bye, thank you for watching.
Consider this an invitation to my gangster